Bhutan's King Jigme Wangchuk is in India's New Delhi on a 3-day visit. He will be meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He is accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and External Trade, Dr. Thandi Dorji, and senior officials of the Bhutanese government. The visit is in keeping with the long-standing tradition of regular high-level exchanges between the two countries. During the visit, the King of Bhutan will also meet with President Draupadi Murmu, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, and senior officials. Teachers in England rejected a pay offer from the British government aimed at ending a series of disruptive strikes. The National Education Union, Britain's largest education union, said 98% of teachers who voted in the ballot followed its advice to reject the offer of a one-off payment this year of £1,000 and an average pay rise of 4.5% in the next financial year. The union has said teachers would take 2 further days of strike action on April 27th and May 2nd. Party leaders and their constituency candidates for Bangkok flocked to the Bangkok Youth Centre to register their candidature for the May 14th general elections. The registration of constituency candidates will continue until Friday at designated venues across the country. The military blogger's killing in Sunday's bomb blast at a St. Petersburg cafe is being investigated as a high-profile murder, according to reports. Tatarsky was an open supporter of Ukraine war. The health ministry said that 24 others were taken to hospital and 6 were reported to be in critical condition. A social media footage showed a blast and injured people on the streets. No one has taken responsibility for the attack so far. People lay flowers outside a cafe in St. Petersburg at the site of explosion. The explosion killed a popular blogger while injuring 30 people. Investigators believe that the bomb was hidden in a bust of Vladimir Tatarsky that had been given to him as a gift. Russian police arrested a woman suspected of delivering the bomb. Russia's investigative committee says Daria Tryopova was arrested on suspicion of involvement in Tatarsky's killing. Poland has announced that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will make an official visit to Warsaw on Wednesday. NATO member and neighbor Poland is a key ally in Kiev's efforts to defend itself and has hosted many Ukrainians fleeing the war. During his visit, Zelensky will meet his Polish counterpart Andrzej Duda. According to head of Poland's International Policy Office, Zelensky will deliver remarks in the historic center of the Polish capital and will speak about the Russian invasion and how Poles are helping Ukrainian refugees. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen arrived in Belize as part of efforts to reaffirm their diplomatic ties with the remaining allies in Central America. Tsai Ing-wen's visit to Belize comes shortly after Honduras announced it would break ties with Taiwan and switch its support to China, joining Nicaragua, Panama, El Salvador and Costa Rica. Belize is the only other Central American country to maintain diplomatic ties with Taiwan. The trip also is aimed to solidify ties in Latin America as China funnels money into the region and pressures its countries to break off relations with Taiwan. Taiwan now has no more than 13 official diplomatic partners. The South Korean, US and Japanese navies began their first anti-submarine drills in 6 months to boost their coordination against increasing North Korean missile threats. The two-day drills come as North Korea's recent unveiling of a type of battlefield nuclear warhead. In recent years, the North has been testing sophisticated underwater-launched ballistic missiles and pushing to build bigger submarines, including a nuclear-powered one. Now, according to the Defense Ministry spokesperson, the maritime exercises involved the nuclear-powered USS Nimitz aircraft carrier and destroyers from South Korea. Activists and members of social movements held a walk of silence in Sao Paulo in memory of the victims of state violence during the military dictatorship almost 60 years ago. They gathered at Ibirapuera Park, holding flowers and pictures of their loved ones, and marched to a monument dedicated to those who were killed by the police and disappeared during the military regime. This year marks the 59th anniversary of a military coup that overthrew President João Goulart, launching a 21-year dictatorship that saw hundreds of people killed and thousands tortured. A Spanish startup is the latest company to aim for the stars when it comes to space transport. In the next few weeks, PDL Space plans to launch the first private reusable rocket, Miura-1, which is manufactured in Europe. It's named after a famous breed of bull, very appropriate given that the rocket is being developed in Spain. If tests are successful, in the next few weeks it will be performing its first flight from the Defense Ministry's aerospace base in Huelva. The company is manufacturing Miura-5 to carry out its first commercial mission for small satellite operators in 2024. Former Kosovo President Hashim Thaçi has pleaded not guilty to 10 charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity as his trial opened as a special court in The Hague. Allegations of persecution, murder, torture and forced disappearance of people stem from the 1998-1999 insurgency that eventually brought independence from Serbia and made him a hero among compatriots. Thaçi and 3 co-defendants, all former close associates in the guerrilla Kosovo Liberation Army, all pleaded not guilty after hearings got underway. More than 13,000 people, the majority of them members of Kosovo's 90% ethnic Albanian majority, are believed to have died during the insurgency when it was still a province of Serbia.
I will now give the opportunity to the accused to state whether they understand the amended indictment and
Meanwhile, supporters of former Kosovo President Hashim Thaçi took part in a mega protest as the war crimes trial of the former guerrilla leader kicked off in The Hague. Now, according to reports, many Kosovars believe that the tribunal is biased against the KLA and interested in denigrating its record in paving the way to liberation of the ethnic Albanian majority region from repressive Serbian rule. Chile's President Gabriel Boric attended an event in Santiago to mark the 50th anniversary of General Augusto Pinochet's bloody coup in 1973. Boric paid special tribute to a number of civil and religious organizations that played a key role in denouncing human rights violations during the dictatorship 50 years ago. Addressing the event, he said as part of the 50th coup anniversary, his government will stage 3 great ideas, 3 great concepts: memory, democracy and future. The president also stressed the need to find detainees still missing in Chile following the 1973 coup. 1 month after a deadly train collision claimed the lives of 57 passengers, the first passenger train travelling on the same route recommenced. The train left Athens main railway station with a final destination of Thessaloniki, with 101 passengers on board, and will make the return route on the same day with 147 passengers. Train routes have been gradually restarted since the crash on February 28th, and a passenger train collided with a freight train near the central Greek city of Larissa, halting all rail services in the country for safety checks. Authorities in Indore have demolished the Indian temple that claimed 36 lives. The move to demolish the temple was taken in light of illegal structures in the temple compound that was making the site unstable. Now, the step well where 36 devotees plunged to death after a concrete slab failed has also been filled with concrete to prevent any further incidents. In a landmark move, the Malaysian Parliament has passed broad legal reforms to remove the death penalty and abolish natural life prison sentences. Malaysia has had a moratorium placed on execution since 2018. Under the amendment, alternatives to the death penalty, such as whipping and imprisonment of between 30 to 40 years, shall be given priority. Life imprisonment has now been fixed at a 30-year term. The move comes after many neighboring countries stepped up use of capital punishment. According to Turkey's statistics agency, the annual inflation rate has slowed to 50% in March, delivering another boost for President Recep Tayyip Erdogan ahead of the May elections. The inflation rate slowed for a fifth consecutive month from a high of more than 85%. The slowdown was led by a drop in the cost of Turkey's energy imports, the figures showed. Now, analysts warned that consumer price increase may start speeding up again unless Turkey radically alters its economic policies. The former principal of a Jewish girls' school in Australia was found guilty on Monday of sexually abusing 2 students, ending a 9-year legal battle that strained relations between the Australian and Israeli governments while antagonizing Australia's Jewish community. Malka Leifa, a Tel Aviv-born mother of 8, was convicted of 18 counts, including rape.
That's all we've ever wanted since we started this battle.
Scientists have broken the world record for the deepest fish ever caught, as well as the deepest fish ever filmed on camera. A juvenile snailfish, part of a Liparidae family, was filmed in August 2022 at a depth of 8,336 meters in the trench, beating the previous record in the Mariana Trench by 158 meters. A few days later, the team collected 2 snailfish at 8,022 meters deep in the Japan Trench, the first fish to ever be collected from deeper than 8 kilometers. The research expedition by the University of Western Australia and the Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology was part of a 10-year study on the deepest fish in the world. Paris will ban electric scooters from September 1st. This comes after French capital voted in a citywide referendum to remove them from the streets. E-scooter operators, however, say they hoped to stop the plan. The e-scooter ban won 89% of the votes, according to officials. The turnout in the referendum was very low, as only 7.46% of registered voters participated. Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo said she would respect the vote. NASA plans to introduce the 4 astronauts for its Artemis II lunar flyby mission set for launch as early as next year in what will be the first crewed voyage around the moon since the end of the Apollo era more than 50 years ago. Officials from the Canadian Space Agency, which is contributing an astronaut to the crew, will join their U.S. counterparts for the announcement in Houston at Johnson Space Center, NASA's Mission Control Base. In your sports news on Speed News, Chelsea have sacked manager Graham Potter following a home defeat to Aston Villa on Saturday. The 47-year-old was in charge of the club for 6 months and leaves the Blues at 11th spot in the Premier League. Chelsea have spent around $600 million on new players this season and say they were disappointed to sack Potter. Potter won 12 of his 31 games in charge in all competitions and managed 1.27 points per game in the Premier League, the joint lowest of any manager to take charge of 20 or more games for Chelsea. There have now been 13 managerial changes in the Premier League this season. Second seeds Jessica Pegula and Coco Gauff won the Miami Open doubles title with a straight sets victory over the unseeded pairing of Leylah Fernandez and Taylor Townsend. Pegula and Gauff fought through a tight opening set that saw both teams trade holds for the first 10 games of the match. Canadian-American duo of Fernandez and Townsend sealed the first break to take a 6-5 lead before Gauff sealed the break back to save a set point and take the match to a tiebreak. Pegula and Gauff won the tiebreak before closing out a 7-6, 6-2 after 1 hour and 25 minutes. Former Australian cricketer Michael Slater has been charged with assaulting a police officer following an alleged domestic violence incident. The 53-year-old is also charged with 2 counts of obstructing police and will appear in Noosa Magistrates Court on May 2nd. This was not the first time that Slater has been involved in an altercation. Last year, he was convicted of common assault and breaching a restraining order. Slater, who was part of the Australian cricket team from 1993 to 2001, moved from Sydney to Noosa in November to address the issues with alcohol addiction and pursue a career as a mental health counsellor. Entertainment news on Speed News. After a cameo in Netflix film Don't Look Up, Ishan Qatar has bagged another international project. He will next be seen in a web series which is an adaptation of the novel The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hildebrand. The international series will also star Nicole Kidman. The project will go on floors next week. The series will also feature Billy Howell, Dakota Fanning and Isabel Adjani.